Okay, dokie. Let us move on. We're moving along pretty well in Kitzur Shluchan Aruch. Let me move this out of the way. Yeah, I don't know. We're talking more about Midot Tovot or Midas Tovis, if you are part of the Ashkenazi persuasion. Good character traits, which are halacha. Halacha means to walk or to go. And this is all about how do you walk and go? How do I function in the world? Rabbi Silberberg always talks about, he always, whatever, a few times a year, he'll get up there and speak. Just like myself, I say the same things over and over again. So he talks about, a lot of people, they lack clarity in life. And the Torah says there's no clarity, there's no joy, there's no greater joy than having clarity on something. And he goes, for me, I don't know, I have clarity all the time. I just look in Shulchan Aruch, I look in the Torah, I look in the Jewish law, and what am I supposed to do in the situation? And it says exactly what to do. And that's what I do. And which is so simple. Yeah, but some of us have such a hard time, myself included, thinking to look in there. I think I know all the answers. Now, this is Kitzur Shluchan Aruch, so the real Shulchan Aruch is much more broad and in depth than this. But everybody in their life should go through the entire Kitzur Shluchan Aruch. It's like a classic. That's like a Jewish. That's just what we do. Everyone, it's like an unspoken rule. So that's why we're doing it. I forgot where I was going with all that, but we'll keep moving over here. Okay, so chapter 29, number 10. I thought we were going to talk about embarrassing somebody, but I'm not exactly sure where that was. I think maybe we're coming up to it. In case we don't, embarrassing somebody is the worst thing you can possibly do. I'm not reading that right here. Embarrassing somebody is the worst thing you could possibly do. From those of you that remember, back in Bereshis, back in Genesis, story of Tamar and Ruvain. Yehuda. Yeah, whatever. She dressed up as a harlot. She seduced him. She was willing to kill herself in order not to embarrass him when she was getting thrown into a fire. So the classic line is, it's better to be thrown into fire than to embarrass somebody else. That's a classic line in Judaism. Better to be burned in fire than to embarrass somebody else. Embarrassing somebody else, as we all know, we've probably all been embarrassed at least once, if not 100,000 times in our life.
And does this speak particular? Sorry, Robert, to interrupt. Is this particular embarrassment in the public or within like a group of people or
yes, publicly? Very good.
Publicly.
Publicly. Yeah, okay. And publicly means two. So in front of two people.
That's in front of two people.
In front of somebody else. In other words, it's you, the person, and there's
somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because it'll forever leave its impression. And it leaves an impression on the person, it leaves an impression on the world, and there's nothing we can do to get rid of that. Now, the recipient of an embarrassment, there's talks about many benefits to embarrassment. It's horrible while you're going through it, but it saves you from, the Gehenna of the next world. One of the explanations of what Gehenna, purgatory, is in the next world, like we said many times, is embarrassment. That is, you see what the situation was and how you should have acted in front of the truth. You see the truth of the situation and we act in the opposite direction. It's very embarrassing. It's like, so that's part of what a Gehenna is. It's really just a moment. It's an embarrassment. The soul feels embarrassed. So if you experience embarrassment in this world, then you don't have to experience it in the next. That's one thing. Another one is that was our portion of the world to elevate. So everything we always say that everybody has a portion in the world. Well, what does that mean? Kabbalistically speaking, everything that we encounter in our lives, in not just in our environment, but within our own head, the way we were raised, the way we think, the way we feel, everything that comes into what we call the Daled Amis, like our surrounding, around our existence, personal existence, is an opportunity for us to elevate. It's very difficult. Sometimes it's very easy, very clear on what to do. I can put my arm around this person and make them feel better. But sometimes it's a dark demon, so to speak, that we struggle with in our own mind. That's very hard, and maybe we'll overcome it one day, but it's going to come back twice as hard the next. Nevertheless, that's our portion of the world to come. So anytime we have an embarrassing situation, it's for us to push through and elevate that situation. So these are some basic concepts about embarrassment. I'm bringing it up because I thought we were going to talk about it today, but I don't see it. I thought it was in this what's called Simin Chav Tes, chapter 29, but I forgot. I guess I'm wrong. Okay, it was a long time ago that I went through this. All right, so let's keep moving on. Maybe we'll finish Chav Tes today, 29. We have mentioned before in chapter 1, the first halacha in the entire Shulchan Aruch is to be bold as a leopard. Do not be embarrassed. I'm just telling this to you, it's not inside. Do not be embarrassed in front of another person. Someone who's making fun of you for practicing Judaism. Now, is that always the case? What's the proper reaction, I should say? Well, it depends. It depends on why they're making fun of you. Where's it coming from? So here we go. The saying of Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema in Perki Avos, be bold as a leopard, which teaches not to be ashamed before people who deride you when you worship the Creator, blessed is He. In other words, don't be embarrassed in front of somebody who's making fun of you for serving Hashem. Nevertheless, you should not answer them rudely, so that you will not acquire the habit of being impertinent, even in situations not involved with the worship of God, blessed be His name. Now, some clarification over here. So somebody's making fun of you for serving Hashem. Now, let me just tell you, as a Jew, the only times I ever got made fun of for serving Hashem, except maybe on 2 occasions, were from other Jews. Yeah, other Jews that felt they knew better, or really it comes from a place of insecurity most of the time. They feel that I'm, just my mere presence, the way I look, it's like I'm looking down on them. Yeah, they feel like I'm looking down on them, which is obviously not true at all. So they immediately become defensive and then offensive. And I've been around it. It's happened to me so many times in my life that I think I'm quite good at diffusing the situation and making light of the whole situation. But how do you react? So this is talking about when it says you should not act rudely, it's talking about that type of Jew or that type of person, where it's not coming from a place of like, I'm trying to harm you. It's really my own insecurity. I'm not trying to hurt you in any way, because if they were trying to hurt me, then there's another halacha that says you can do anything you can to protect the name of God, protect yourself. Obviously, it means harm. You can, if they're going to harm you, you harm them first. That is halacha. This is specifically talking about a situation where somebody is just, you can diffuse the situation. There's no real imminent attack that's going to happen. In fact, you should speak with them kindly. That was always the proper response. Speak to them kindly. Usually brings on embarrassment. It's from the Torah. Let's see what it says over here. There's a little note. Mockery is intended to flagrantly against the Torah. Yeah, beer halacha. Okay. Yeah, so if the guy is not really trying to hurt you, you can just, exactly like I said. Okay. Neither should you quarrel for the right to perform a mitzvah. There's a very famous mitzvah that people would quarrel for. See if you guys know it. Such as to lead the congregation in prayer. That does not happen in our shul. Nobody wants to lead the prayer service. It's a little bit too much spotlight.
Very familiar.
Yeah. It's always like me. There's only this Shabbos. I'll just tell you something funny. I came a little late to shul. I have a chavrusa. I learned with the rabbi in the morning, but my kids were not so well. They didn't feel so well, so I came late to shul. I hung out with them. When you're like, I don't know but by you, but by me, when like I'm 1 minute late in my schedule, my whole day becomes like 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late. It just like snowballs out of control. So I show up late, and the rabbi usually starts the service, and then I'm the gabbai, so it falls on me to find out who should lead the service, who should take him over. Okay. At 10 o'clock in the morning, there are three options. There is myself, there's the rabbi, there is another person, Marty Goodman, and then there's myself. It is the same three people. It's been like this for the last, I don't know, 7 years. And I came a little late and I wasn't holding in the right place. And the rabbi goes, we have to figure out who's going to lead the service the day before, like in advance. And I right away I told him, there's only three people that could do it by the time you're ready to go, and I'm one of them, and you're the second one. Anyway, I just remember him, and then he smiled. In other words, there weren't that many options. The other 20 people are not going to do it. Trust me. Okay.
Right. It took me like 30 minutes to ask someone, and because we were waiting for people to show up, and 30 minutes to get someone to speak about Dvar Torah or something, like summarize the Torah portion.
That's a little harder. You got to be prepared for that. Yeah.
Oh, I
that's
see.
Harder. That's harder to do for sure. Yeah, but yeah, if somebody's willing to just step up and do it, call the kavod. Or to be called up to the Torah, yeah, there's usually not so much of a quarrel, but I get the face, the look of like, you're going to call me this week, aren't you? Or the like, just as we find it with the showbread. Yeah, the lechem apanim, this was a mitzvah in the Beis HaMikdash. That, what exactly happened? Let me finish it and I'll tell you. Although it was a mitzvah to eat of it, yet we are told the modest used to give up their share while the gluttons used to grab and devour it. Okay, so the lechem apanim was something that was baked on Shabbos inside the Heichal. Yeah, you guys ever look at the Beis HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, was that big structure there, and that structure is called the Heichal. And inside of there, you had a few things. You got the menorah in there. You got the ketoris, yeah, the incense offering. Then you got the Holy of Holies deep in the back, which also had an altar in there, and the ark. Now, one of the things when you first walked in was the showbread, which was a stack of 12 breads with its ends cut off. I think they're more like matzahs. They look more like matzahs. And they were baked on Shabbos. Whatever, interesting thing. And they would keep them there for a whole week. And the miracle was, at the end of the week, in other words, next Shabbos, the Kohanim could take them home and eat them. And could they take them home? Yeah, I think they could take them home. They could take them home and eat them with their family. And it was miraculous because it stayed fresh. So, saying over here, there was a big fight that would usually happen. You'd have the gluttonous ones that would grab at it and have it, and like, oh, and they would say, it's for the mitzvah. I'm acting this way because I'm doing it for the mitzvah, which obviously is complete baloney. You're just doing it because you're hungry or whatnot. They wanted that steak sandwich. Yeah, they would take home a lot of meat, and they would take home bread, and they would eat it. But the modest would say, look, everybody else have. It's like Kiddush on Shabbos. Just step back. Let those that want to take first, just let them take first. Don't get so upset. Just let them go. That struggle we have every Shabbos over here. So I don't want to even look to see the people going at it right away, like as if there's no food in your house. So we don't. Let me just tell you something interesting about Chabad that has always been in the culture of Chabad. Whenever there was an opportunity for two people to perform a mitzvah, and let's say those two people, one was an adult and one was a young man, a bacher, so 13, 14, 15, Chassidim would very often give it to the bacher, which is kind of unheard of in other circles, because it should be given to the most prestigious or the oldest, the one with the most honor. But Chabad was always we find any opportunity to teach somebody, we teach them. And usually young men or young women are in a mode of teaching. They're in the mindset of teaching, of learning. So we'd always give it to them. And especially even the more honorable it was. Now, there are certain times of the year when someone is supposed to be given to, the honor is supposed to be given to the oldest or the most, the Rav, the most prestigious, the most coveted person. Certain haftorahs during the year, who should lead the service a certain type of year. So we're not on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we're not going to give it to young men. But for any other opportunity, we really push that younger people should get an opportunity, not just young in, not young in years, but young in knowledge. That's really what it is. So you can be.
That's okay. I see. That's why my rabbi, he always asks his 12-year-old son to be a chazan.
Right. Well, that could also just be because it's just easier. He's going to do it, and yeah, and we're not. But yes, we do try to get a 12. Yeah, we do try to get a younger kid as often as we can to be the chazan for sure. As long as he can do it, But we get a lot of patience. We have a lot of patience. Okay, that's all I want to say about that. Let's keep going over here. It is human nature for man's actions to be influenced by his friends. There's a very famous line, Tov letzadik, Tov l'shchono. Yeah, good is a tzaddik, and then good it is for his neighbor. That if you live around, if your neighbor is a good person, then they're going to have an influence on you. But if your neighbor is not a nice person, then it's going to have a negative influence on you. It's a very famous line in the Torah. Tov letzadik, Tov l'shchono. Good is a tzaddik, then good it is for his neighbor. It's human nature for man's actions to be influenced by his friends, colleagues, townspeople. Therefore, you should associate yourself with the righteous and in the company of wise men constantly, in order to learn from their deeds. Keep away from evil men who walk in darkness, in order to not learn from their behavior. There's a famous line in the Tanya that if you start wrestling with a dirty person, if you get into conversation with a dirty person, someone who's a manuvel, a dirty person, when you wrestle with such a person, you yourself get dirty. So we keep away. We don't look for fights. King Solomon, peace upon him, said, whoever walks with wise men will become wise. Oh, I once saw a TED Talk that the biggest, and it's totally true, the biggest life hack to success, you want to be successful, hang around successful people. Just hang around them. Talk to them. That's why you see children usually of successful people, they themselves become even more successful very often because they're around a successful person. So they can just see it. It's very, I know how to do it. I see the path. I know how to do it. Oh, that person can do it. I had this podcast that I once did. Maybe I told you guys, where I interviewed top people. I just did it for the fun of it. Where I interviewed people in their industry, top leaders of their industry. So the first one I got was a guy named Howard Behar. Now you probably know his partner, Howard Schultz, who started Starbucks. So Howard Behar was the COO of Starbucks. They built out the empire. He's the one that actually built it out to be an empire. So I once interviewed him, and I interviewed them about all of their failures, only about failures, and they all have tons of failures. So I spoke to him. He was great. Maybe I can even bring him on one time. He's a really great guy. So he was the COO of Starbucks, and I had a Navy SEAL commander, and I had a boxing champion. I had a Grammy award-winning musician. Anyway, once you just talk to them, though, they're very normal people. You see, they're very normal, and it gives you a lot of confidence to, I can become great. Not that I became great, but whatever. It gave me the confidence to go talk to even more popular people, more well-known people. Just hanging around them, it gives you confidence. Okay, so King Solomon said, peace upon him, whoever walks with wise men will become wise, but the companion of fools will come to ruin. And it says in the same over there, Ashri Aish, fortune is the man, Asher Halach, I think it's Asher Bahalach B'tzadikim, who walk with the righteous. Fortune is the man who has not walked in the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the way. Okay, it's the opposite. Okay, I don't know which pasuk this is. Clearly, it's probably from Tehillim. And if someone lives in a town whose customs are depraved and whose inhabitants do not walk on the right path, he should move away to a city whose inhabitants are righteous and lead decent lives. Okay, so the big question becomes, Chabad, we'll move out to wherever you want. Name us Nigeria. Yeah, there's a Chabad in Nigeria. There's a Chabad in, I don't know, name a bad country. I'm not saying Nigeria is bad. But the Congo is pretty bad. And there's a very famous Chabad rabbi over there, Chabad family, who were attacked a few times. So how do they move out there? How do you move to a place like Las Vegas and not be influenced? So I'm sure you've heard me say this before, somebody once asked this question to the Rebbe. How could you send these innocent little Hasidic families to the middle of nowhere in the world and not have them not be influenced? So the Rebbe said, I'm looking over there because I'm thinking about maybe I should bring you over here. Okay, here, I'll bring you over here. Follow me. Okay, this is gross. Anyway, the Rebbe said there's a halacha. I'm going to tell you in a second. The Rebbe said there's a halacha. Tari demiflat leibala. In the laws of kashrus, of kosher, I've said this before many times. If you're salting a piece of meat, what's happening when you pour salt on a piece of meat that you just slaughtered? Blood is going to be spewing out. What if a drop of milk falls onto the piece of meat? What should we do, right? Because you can't mix milk and meat. So they said the halacha is you don't have to worry about it at all. You just pour some more salt because it won't be absorbed. Why? Why won't the milk be absorbed into the meat while it's being salted? Because tarid the miflat, while something is spewing out, loibala, it cannot consume. It cannot swallow, literally swallow. So while something is spewing out, it can't swallow. Forget, I don't need to show you this little demonstration. Yeah, do you guys understand? So while you're being in a state of influence, while you're influencing somebody, you won't absorb. If your mindset is to influence your environment, then you won't be influenced by your environment. Now, that could also, like everything in this world, it could be taken wrong. Looking for my shoes. It could be taken in the wrong way. Just like somebody who doesn't learn, someone who doesn't keep their mouth shut, somebody who's constantly talking. Yeah, you have these people. They're constantly like trying to tell you how much they know. They don't let you finish a sentence. They don't, and they're not listening to you. Yeah, because Tari the Miflat, while they're spewing out, they don't absorb anything, so they can't actually learn anything. So it's also in the negative sense. So that's why Chabad is confident in going to anywhere, because we're going in a way of influence. I'm not going to be influenced myself. Okay, we'll do one more halacha. You guys still there? Yeah. Okay. It is a positive commandment to associate with Torah scholars that we should learn from their deeds. Yeah, okay, Vilma, I'll take your question. Let me just finish this and I'll take your question. We may learn from their deeds and cling to Him. How do you cling to Hashem? Is it possible to cling to the divine presence? Rather, our rabbis of blessed memory, which is Chazal. You guys ever heard of Chazal? Chazal. Rabbis of blessed memory cling to Torah scholars. Yeah, what does it mean, cling to the divine? It means cling to Torah scholars. Therefore, a man should make a serious effort to marry a daughter of a Torah scholar, or give his daughter in marriage to a Torah scholar, to eat, drink with Torah scholars, do business with Torah scholars, and to join hands with them in every possible form of association. Like it says, cling to him. And thus mandated our rabbis, Chazal, sit in the dust of their feet and drink their words thirstily. Also from Perkei Avos. Is that this week's Perkei Avos? No, it's the first part. Okay. What did I want to say? I wanted to say something about this. Oh, Rabbi Akiva. You find stories in the Gemara where Rabbi Akiva especially, you would find by Rabbi Akiva, when he first came to be amongst Torah scholars, he was 40 years old already, he would follow them into the bathroom. And they were like, what are you doing? And he would explain, I'm genuinely trying to see, how does a Torah scholar go to the bathroom? And they were like, okay, fine, if that's the case, then yeah, you can hang around us. And they would go, students would do like seemingly like inappropriate things. They would try to be around their Torah scholar when it would be like the night of relations, see how they were with their families on vacation, so to speak, eating. Like they would just look at everything, because a true tzaddik, a righteous person, is righteous at all times, even when he's alone or she's alone in the bathroom, nobody's around. They go to the bathroom the way a righteous person go to the bathroom. Rebbe would always say, a chassid eats like a chassid, sleeps like a chassid, davens like a chassid, goes to the bathroom like a chassid. Yeah, you're never turned off. The game is never turned off. You're always turned on. Yeah, Vilma, you had a question?
I'll wait till you're done.
Oh, okay. No, I'm done.
So,
Okay.
you said a lot of things. Like, I really resonated with what you said, and on many levels, like God does put you in situations where, proper response and observation is important. However, I think he derives great pleasure from bringing people together with the same intention. And I think, there are tests and then there are blessings, and to recognize, what things are, that's true wisdom. And I think it has to do with the heart of the person in that specific moment, in that situation.
I totally agree. I don't, I almost totally agree. The problem is the reason why we don't have a clarity in our lives. This is what Gullus is, exile. My batteries are low, by the way. Guys, if it shuts off, I'm not trying to be rude. Gullus, exile, is when we don't have clarity. We don't have clarity in a situation. So there are times, I kind of spoke, the Torah does say, there are times when you follow your heart, and there's times when you follow your mind, and there are times when it's just like you have to have divine assistance because there's no clarity. I don't know what to do in my heart. I don't know what to do in my mind. And it's not really clear in halacha exactly what to do. And that's because of, that's called the galus. That's called the exile. It's being born in a dark room, and we think it's light. We think we're in a light room, yeah, but we're really not. We're actually in darkness. And that's why we call out, and this galus, like I need clarity on everything. I can't have true joy at every moment of my life because I don't have clarity on every situation exactly what to do. Do I talk to this person now? Do I not talk to them now? Am I pushing them? Am I not pushing them? My children, yeah, that's a big one. What's the right way to do it? What's the right way not to do it? I made a mistake. That's why we just need Mashiach. Like, enough of this already. But yes, most of the time, if you're a fine-natured person, the right choice will come to you. It says that prophets, unlike Moses, all other prophets, they would have a vision, but the vision really didn't make any sense. But then God would place the solution onto their heart. Then they understood what to do. God gave them the solution. In other words, they saw exactly how everything's supposed to happen, but they couldn't make sense of it. They didn't. It's hard to explain. They said, "Uh-oh,